Welcome to the SPEAKPact podcast, where high-performing speakers and the producers who hire them merge to give you the insider secrets to the lucrative speaking industry. Antoniette Roze, your podcast host and celebrated speaker agent, unveils insider success strategies. Discover a nexus of thought leaders and bookers maximizing your potential in each and every episode. Your ticket to ultimate speaking success begins right here. Catch the transformative insights waiting for you on the SPEAKPact podcast, hosted by the industry powerhouse herself, Antoniette Roze.
Welcome back to SPEAKPact. I am here today with a top-notch guest who is going to be bringing you a wealth of tips and information. She is not only a top 1% podcaster, she also is podcasting in a language that is not her original language. And I find that so intriguing and so fascinating that she can rise to the level that she has in a market that may not have been quite as natural to her as her native tongue. So really, really love that. She is also an accomplished businesswoman. She is a doctor, and she is a recipient of the Leaders Hum Power List of 2023, and that's pretty significant. That was done for her work in human potential and self-leadership, which, of course, for we speakers, we want to reach our human potential so that we can help others reach their human potential. There's much more to say about her. She's an author. She's so much more, which we will unravel as we continue through this conversation. But for right now, we're going to dive right in. And I'm happy to introduce Anna Melikian to you. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I really thank you for this opportunity.
You are so welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, doctor, because I know that you've got a lot going on. But you know, your whole focus on impact without burnout is intriguing to me, especially that our listeners that we're speaking with today, they're all high achievers. We are in a space, in a room together, right? In a sense, even though we may not be able to touch and hug each other, we're in the same room together right now, all of us, the audience, you, me. And we high achievers tend to just keep hitting the ground running no matter what is trying to stumble us or block us or dissuade us. We just find a way up, over, around, and we just keep running. How do you still achieve and not lose your edge while caring for yourself in a way that's going to prevent burnout?
Yeah, and that is really, really core for me because I have been in the other side. I think, like you say, all of us, even people that don't see themselves as high achievers, we are in a high achiever society. And all the pressures, so to say, we have our families or our groups or our significant others, our pets, our profession. So we have so much thing in the modern life in our plate, and we are constantly being asked to do more, achieve more. So there is this pressure in our Western world. And for people like me, that by nature, I like to achieve. I call myself a workaholic by tendency. During many, many years, I really believed that for deserving success, I had to work really, really, really hard. Otherwise, was not the merit of getting the rewards of the success. And I did that. I like to use the image that I was like the Energizer bunny. Do you remember the little pink bunny
totally.
of the battery commercials? That has that little drum and the drums and drums and drums and go, 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 outlasting everybody else. That was, I identify with the Energizer bunny. And I was proud of it. And I know that many people are in the same situation. until I had a health crisis that put a big moment of pause in my life. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2016. And that was a moment that priorities totally shift, health. And now I'm here 7 years later, almost 8 years later, healthy and strong. But yes, that made me really rethink maybe I think we always have situations in lives that make us rethink. For me, was that at the point in my life, that was an early point in my life, and made me realize, okay, if I want to keep creating a positive impact out there, living my purpose, making a difference, creating a positive impact, and I know that that is dear to your heart, we together can really make a difference in this world, and that is truly my belief and my mission with the work that I do. How can I keep doing that with limited, at the time, energy and time?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot keep cutting my sleep anymore. I have to take care of my health. And was then that I start, so my background is psychology. So since my teens and then my university bachelor, master, and PhD was all in psychology. So I was already in the human potential world, but was around that time I already were tackling into it the high performance world. What we know from the high performance out there that allow us to be in the peak of our achievements, but without being able to sustain that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the thing, if you think that most sports, for instance, we study a lot of the sports where, think about Olympic Games, think about a world record, a millisecond counts. So the achievement is measured in milliseconds. But they know that to be in their high performance when it counts most, they have to train hard, but also give the body time to restore and rebuild, and then train hard, restore and rebuild. Not all the sports work like that, but most of them do. So, or for people in the United States, if they think about American football, the quarterback playing on the game, the Sunday game, or whatever the day of the week nowadays they play, that they play now every day almost. But for that game of that week, they have to be in their A game, and they train and they are in the season, but then they have the off season where they restore and recover. So this is important to see this rhythm that happens so much for that high performance in sports, know how to respect. And then we, in our lives, in our work, or an executive in a company, they are almost pressured to be always in their A game without time to breathe, without time to restore, without time to sleep, without time sometimes to go to the mental gym and do what they can help them to be in the top of their game.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with that reality to myself. So how can I be in the top of my game to make a bigger impact out there, but having time to restore, having time to re-energize, and not just pushing, but be more in the flow of the high performance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a work in progress. But it's amazing when we realize, oh, I slept 8 hours. And now in the morning, I have this process that I'm following, and I'm getting a ton of things done. Yes. And being aware when we start to have to repeat the same thing 2 or 3 times because we are tired, maybe there is a sign that we should do a break. So that kind of work of knowing ourselves and tap into our potential we will find a way of being in the flow of the high performance without overextending ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I am so on track with you with a lot of that. If I don't schedule in calibration time every day, and then and a bigger chunk of calibration time every week, and then a bigger chunk of calibration time every month, and then every quarter, right? I find things start coming off kilter. Like things just start irritating, things just start happening, or just it's not flowing as well. And I do notice when I bring on speakers, as everybody who's watching this show knows that I'm a speaker agent. When I bring on speakers, I get big red flags when I'm interviewing a potential speaker that I'm going to represent. If they say, I want 7 speaking engagements a month. And I'm thinking, if you're going to be flying here and then flying there 7 times, and you have a family, you're going to burn out. And I'm in the business of having clients that I'm with for hopefully decades. I like the long haul. So that's always a red flag. It doesn't matter to me how maybe already well known they are and how much I feel like I can market them. What matters to me is that we're in it for the long run together. And that's always a conversation that I have to have if I can see that they're just so gung-ho, because we are. I mean, you get passionate about your work and I'm with you, workaholic. Like, I love it. It's not like I'm punishing myself. I really, really love it. But if I don't get my daily walk in, which this week I've been pretty terrible at it, I feel it. Like you're exactly right. My brain isn't firing the way that it should. I'm getting like overly focused on the minors instead of taking a step back, looking at the whole bigger picture. There's so much to that. And so specifically for speakers, authors, and consultants, do you see a pattern within those kinds of fields of wanting to maybe overpromise, overdeliver? What are some of the patterns that you see as a doctor and a psychologist?
And the thing, I'm going to answer a little a different angle, and then please bring me back to that angle.
You bet. Mm-hmm.
Because let's think about author that works so hard to write the book, and now is launching the book, and she wants to make a big splash with the book launch, and they get you to help them on that.
Yeah.
We know that during that book launch or whatever launch a person is making, you are going to have to push it. And you are going to have that sprint. And in business, obviously, there are certain seasons in certain consultants, depending of the target market that they serve. That maybe is the season to really close that engagements that are going to be the year-long engagements. Or the speaker, there are certain seasons that is to do the proposals or to contact the people. There will always be sprints, and we have to be realistic with that. The question is, do you have a time to recover? If you are pushing that, don't make it being your new normal, because then you burn out.
Mm.
Recognize that it's a sprint, great, but then how are you going to reward yourself for that hard work that you put in and give yourself time to recover? What is your off season, even if a long weekend? But what is or you go out for 1 day or 2, but what is your off moment, pause to recover?
Ooh, okay. Let's pause right there, because I know you have so much more to give. But back to your analogy of top sports performers, right? If a sprinter never stops sprinting, is he going to stay on top, right? Yeah. If a football player never stops practicing, never stops getting off the field, is his body going to break down, right? We're no different, even though it might be more intellectual work. Your brain takes most of the energy of your whole body. Really quick story. So my husband was a paint contractor for 40 years, and he had a pretty big company and a very, very physically draining company. I, on the other hand, have a pretty good sized company, but it's mentally draining, right? I'm not as physical. I'd love to be, but it's just not the nature of my company. And he would come home, and I would always, I love the evening walks together. I love to hike. And he would be physically exhausted. And I would say, well, babe, I'm pretty tired myself. And he's go, well, why are you tired? why are you exhausted? And he didn't understand. But that mental workout all day long is physically as exhausting as, climbing ladders. I never quite got that concept across, but it truly is. I've done research on how much energy your brain takes in a given day. So even though you may think, I can do this, right? I can just absorb this information over here, get this person what they need over there, deliver this consultation or this talk over here, and it's all good because I can pace out my time. You have to allow for that mental space, right? I love that mindset zone has become your thing. We're going to talk about your show and your book and those kinds of things a little bit later. And I thank you for letting me interject because I so resonate even with your whole analogy, how important it is for the cadence in our lives to be in alignment, right?
And just let me add one thing there, because it's a perfect metaphor that we are using a lot nowadays in the mindset world. That is the mental fitness. Like you're saying, a flight of stairs. Imagine that we have to climb 4 or 5 flights of stairs, depending on our fitness level, but we arrive to the end of the 5 in the 5th floor, and we are out of breath. And we have to sit down and recover our breath. You cannot ask us more because we don't have more to give. If we are in excellent shape, maybe you arrive to that and we still can be active and doing something. Mentally, it's the same thing. Sometimes we expect the life throw us that lemons or that melons that are the flights of stairs. If we didn't do our work in our mental gym, a small grape can throw us out, of course. Will be a couple of steps. Some people can handle 2 flights of stairs. Other people can handle the big melon, 4 or 5 flights of stairs. But everything depends on what we have done to be ready, to be able to be resilient in that circumstances. And we have to see, I think, the metaphor, the image of the mental gym. What are we doing every day to become more mentally well and strong, to be in our peak performance?
Peak performance. I love you brought in the element or a bit earlier about, I don't think you used this word, but you definitely conveyed the idea of taking time to celebrate. Celebrate your achievements, celebrate the milestones that you've reached, celebrate the fact that you had a successful day, right? Just celebrate that you're breathing. But take the time because it's just as vital for your mind, right? Then if there's no reward in the work, that we're wired for reward. How can you speak to that a little bit deeper?
Yeah. And I think this depends from people to people, but the workaholic by nature, we are always, it's like the thing about the next thing that we have done in our to-do list. And there is a pleasure in checking things out in our to-do list that is rewarding. And I confess that sometimes I add the thing and I check it out. And at the same time, it's also very common that at the end of the day, we have here in the house for dinner, we don't start with a pray, we start with a gratitude practice. And we start, when I had my cancer, that I was wanting to create a ritual in the family that is still sticking, that I love. And so we start the meal asking, okay, what are you grateful for? What something of today? And we go around the table with that. And sometimes I confess that arrives to my turn and because I was working, I work and I usually end at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then is doing the dinner and then sitting down. I'm so still in that transition phase that it's like a blur. okay, what did I did today? Okay, I know that I did a ton of things, but what do I want to celebrate? But it's like blurry. And I think I like to, at the end of the day, plan the next day when I have that time to, and I try to structure things because then allow me to look to my agenda and sometimes I even do, and I recommend this. If you are, instead of a to-do list, once in a while, do a done list. Write down, just a piece of paper or a book, or that you write down, you finish something, you write. So you do your done list and you will be surprised the quantity of things that you have done. And the question, if you work in your priorities or not, that is a different question. But most people do a ton of things during their days. Sometimes it's that blur at the end because they didn't focus on the strategical things, or because they didn't have that time to pause and reflect and readjust during the day. And that is the pain and the opportunity for growth.
The pain and the opportunity for growth. Okay, I absolutely love your done list. That, because I'm always looking at what I didn't get done, what I still need to get done. And that doesn't feel rewarding at all, even if there's some check marks in there. But to know, to shift my focus a bit and look at, this is what I have accomplished. This is what I have done. That's brilliant. Honestly, I'm gonna give that a try. Because one thing that I do practice that I have found very powerful, and I could see this supporting that even more, is we all have 3-year targets where we know where we want to be in the next 3 years. I will actually write out what my perfect average day in that world is, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, what chairs are in the room, whatever it might be. I actually write out what palpably, right, tangibly, what that feels like to be there already. And I liken the done list to be similar to that. So I'm not so focused on all that I'm behind on, because we're all perpetually behind. But that all that I've achieved, it just shifts the focus that bit. That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I love that. And one quote that I love is, your to-do list always is going to outlive you.
Oh, that's...
You never, is not humanly possible to do everything that you put in a to-do list, individually or in a company. And that part of the art is to focus on the big rocks and let it go of many of the rest. So, and if we plan out, and I love that you are planning your ideal day. I think that is so important. And so many people are in a so thick mist that if you ask them what is their ideal day, they cannot articulate it. And it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes we have to start what you don't want there, like the negative, and then print the positive of it. It's okay. Wherever people are, they are there. It's just the starting point. But it's wonderful when you already are in a place that you can imagine that ideal day and make it real with buffer times, because there is always something that happens that we have to create a buffer zone for an emergency, something that pops in that we have to really pay attention, and then still don't get us totally out of track, and celebrate. Mm-hmm. When there is that day that, I did everything that I had planned. What are you going to do to celebrate that? And is not more work, please. How are you going to reward yourself? Enjoy the moment, flavor the moment, because that will re-energize you for the next day.
I so echo that. And I also would add to that reward your family, reward those who love you as well. Because we high achievers, and the audience we're talking with today are all high achievers, are getting their voices out there. They're getting their solutions and their messages out there and their curated IP, right? Then they only got to that place with a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. And all those who are closest to you and love you have been right there alongside you the whole time. A lot of times, their sacrifice has been time with you, or even when they were with you, your mind is maybe on all of these other things. So reward them by being fully present when you're actually with them. And we call them daycations. I know I didn't term that. It's a term that's coined throughout America, but my husband and I like to have a daycation at least once a week where we go and explore something new, a new park, or if there's a festival, those kinds of things. And so often, Dr. Anna, I will say, oh gosh, I really, if I do that, I'm not going to have time to get these emails answered or, whatever it might be. And it's never easier. It's always a very conscious choice that not only do I need this, right? But my husband needs it too.
And it's so important. And we could go to the big picture thing at the end of the day when we are in our last breath one day and we are looking back in our life. It's not the to-do list that we are going to be worried about. We can have that kind of big picture perspective. But even for us to make a more impact in our work and our day today, really have that time off is so, so important. It's so re-energizing. It's so good for our body, for our soul, and for our relationships that we have to honor that. We really have to honor our home team that is there to support us. And in my opinion, is a quality of time. Okay, if you're really busy, recognize that again, that sprint. Okay, explain that to everybody involved. But then, how are you going to reward yourself and them by giving that quality time to them? Full attention, like you are saying.
And much like you revive yourself, right? You revive their support in what you're doing. It doesn't become something they resent, but they can fully support. Love that. Okay. So, Dr. Anna, how did you go from this concept, this idea of a podcast called Mindset Zone to skyrocketing it to the top 1%? And there are millions of podcasts out there. So to become a top 1% podcast is not, you can't buy it. You have to earn it. What are some of the things that set you apart, your messaging apart? I mean, these brilliant insights you've just given us, I can only imagine, once somebody hears one of your episodes, they're going to lock in and want to keep staying there, but it's attracting them to that very first episode. Well, what are some of the things that you did that helped you skyrocket to that level?
There was a lack of is being prepared and be the right time. The right time, I start my podcast, The Mindset Zone, in 2014, when the market was not as crowded as it is today. That is the first thing. But being prepared, I really did my homework to have quality in the recording, even at the time. And I was producing at the time everything together. And there was not the technology that we have today, 10 years later. So I was doing a lot, but I was with a good standard. And when I launched the podcast, I also studied the best way of launch and got the experts to help me. And I really leveraged the connection capital that I had built in my professional life and even in my personal life too. So I ask people to comment, to rate it, to listen, to spread the word about, to connect. I connect with other podcasters. So I did all the basic things that we have to do. And at the time I was in number one in the iTunes, in all the categories that the podcast was listed. I managed to be in the number one spot during that initial 2 months launch. Nowadays, it's much more difficult because there are much bigger players on the game my podcast is an indie independent podcast, like most podcasts in the coaches, consultants, and the authors world. But we still can make a tremendous impact out there. And the thing for me is, if you decide to do a podcast, or is to be on the long run on this, to be something that you are passionate about, that is related with your business, that you can leverage that way through being out there in terms of visibility. And you can week after week after week put quality content out there. Because even if you never reach the numbers to be in the top 1%, you still can reach the right people. And that is the key. Even if it's a small group, are you reaching the people that connect with you? And do not let what the people think, oh, but you don't have your book out yet, or you are not recognized in that area yet. Or in my case, was my accent. You intuitively will be a podcast audio, because my podcast is just audio. With my accent be the right fit for me? And it worked and I had improved in these last 10 years. I did a lot of work in improving my pronunciation and to try to speak in a more clear way. And as a speaker, I benefit from that work when I'm on stage. But also made me realize that sometimes what can look like a weakness can become a strength. Because maybe if I meet somebody in a networking event, maybe they don't remember my name, but it's the one with the accent. And the people that I connect, they usually say, oh, she has a lovely accent. And I had to lay to rest that there always are going to be people that is going to be a barrier in the communication. There is always going to be people that will not understand me because of my accent. But I have to let that go, because there are many others that they pay a little bit more attention. They tune in a little bit more because of the accent, and then they can take out much more because of that.
So brilliant. So brilliant. We don't want to be vanilla, right? We embrace our differences. Scrappy is the new perfect, and your accent's gorgeous. I don't have any problem with it. But those who do have an accent, who may be conscious about that, embrace it. I love that you said embrace it, because embrace your differences. Maybe, I don't know, maybe your face was scarred up, or maybe you just have a really annoying voice for whatever reason. It's just a tone of voice, yes. Right? I do work with one lady. I've had the privilege of working with her in the past. She's amazing. It's another doctor, and she had throat cancer, and she is just this powerhouse of a woman, but her voice is very damaged from what she had gone through. She basically sounds like a man, and so people accuse her of being basically a man presenting herself as a woman. She's all woman, wherever you are in that fence. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this woman could easily have said, well, I'm ruined. My voice is ruined. My career is ruined. But she didn't. And one of the things that we worked on together that really made her career go to the next level was, right when you get out there on stage, face the elephant in the room and just say it. So get a laugh out of it, say it, get it off the table. So that's not in people's heads all the way through, and they don't catch a thing that you're saying. Walk out there, start talking, and then say, and I know some of you are thinking I'm a man because of my voice. Well, let me tell you, I'm a woman. I had throat cancer, and this was the result. But my message is important enough to me to stand up here imperfect and get my message out to you, right? Just face that straight on, because if people are going to think it, get it out of the way so they can just put that aside and hear the actual message. So thank you for opening up that dialogue, because that's so important. We always try to hide our flaws, and that makes us like everybody else. It makes us unrelatable to our audience, because our audience isn't sitting there feeling perfect and polished, right? Or even the high achievers that we're speaking with today, we all have our thing, whatever it might be. And that needs to be something memorable, not something hidden. And you said it, right? You know, the woman with the big hair, or or the woman with the accent. Oh, yes, I know exactly who you're speaking about. Versus if you would have erased your accent, which can be done, which I think would be a shame. Or if I, cut my hair really short because it's just too much. I guess we'd have to find another way to be identifiable.
Yes. And it's always, but we have to walk our talk in many ways. For me, it's so important, the process of trying to be gentle with myself, and the embracing who we are. And so this is part of the process. That is not that we don't have things that we can improve, that we can grow, that we can become better, but we have to be doing in order to become better.
Well, I know that you are probably pitched day in and day out, people applying to be guests on your show. How do you pick, because you make some really incredible choices, how do you in your limited amount of time, weed through the ones, what application or what approach immediately rises above on your list?
So the main thing I'm very clear what is my goal in my podcast. And it's a wide goal, an eclectic goal. But in the mindset zone is creating that mental gym that we were speaking about, that mental fitness place where people can go, and from the half an hour that the podcast or less that is every episode, they live in the other side with more expansive view of the world, or thinking about whatever is our conversation around. Oh, I never thought about this way. It's like open possibilities. That is the main thing. I want to have, or my solo episodes or my interviews, conversations that are interesting and that bring different angles that most people didn't thought about, and they go, oh, interesting. So that is the filter. And then how I go about getting the guests, a lot is from my network. People that I meet in my professional and personal circle that I find interesting. Oh, that person is great. Or by introductions, authors and speakers usually are great guests, because an author to write the book or the speaker to make an impact on stage, they have to think about their message and what is their big idea that is helping people to see things in a little bit different angle. So that is why authors and speakers usually are so great match to my podcast. And of course, yes, I receive a ton of pitches via email. And sometimes if it's a New York Times bestseller, that grabs my attention, yes. If they are launching another book, I'm going to give priority to that, because it's good for me also to relate with their brand. Sometimes the person that is doing the pitch, I can read, because I really read very quickly, but if I feel that it's not a template that they are sending to 100 other people, that there is some personalization, some thought on it, that is what grabs my attention. And they have to be persistent, even that sometimes, to really grab my attention. So that are the things, but has to be a good match. That is the main thing.
So what I'm hearing is, number one, they really have to be familiar with your material so that it's authentic, right? I saw your show. I love it. I think
this is in terms of the pitch. Yes. If somebody is a PR person doing the pitch, go the extra step. Don't just use automation to put another email in my inbox. I have enough emails there.
Big turnoff. Yeah, the cut and paste is huge turnoff, because if they're going to take that shortcut, then are they really going to bring that next level high value to your audience that you worked so hard to create? I do have one big last question I'm going to ask you, but I would first love for you to share how our audience can find Dr. Melikian, and how what are some steps that they can take to get more into the incredible solutions that you bring in mindset.
So the easiest way, so if you are listening to this in any podcast platform out there, first of all, of course, follow SPEAKPact first of all. And that is giving this platform that I so much appreciate. And after, please go and look for Mindset Zone and follow my podcast, Mindset Zone. I really appreciate following, clicking that subscribe or following button really makes a difference in terms of visibility for a podcast. Mm-hmm. Then just another is remember my name, Anna Melikian, and .com, my first name, last name.com. Anna is ANA, just with one N, Melikian, MELIKIAN.com. In my website, you will be informed of what is my focus, what I'm doing at the moment. It will be the best tool, and there will be a place there to subscribe to my newsletter to keep informed. And I'm sure that you are going to put this in the show notes. So if Absolutely. They go to the show notes, they will have the links for this.
Yes. You talked about an assessment. Is that something you'd like to talk about?
Yes, because you were challenging me. Okay, how can we create a big impact out there? How can we give to the listeners of your show how to take the next step in terms of creating an impact? And my focus is creating that impact while preventing the burnout. And if somebody is listening to our conversation until now, towards the end of our conversation, and this is really resonating with them, in the show notes, I will give you the link for you to put in the show notes. That will be annamelikian.com / I think SpeakPact. That will take them to a place where they can set a call with me. And then I can take them through an assessment, depending on the number of the people, will be individual or in small groups. But I will take them to an assessment where allow them to see where they fall into the burnout engaged continuum. Where are they? Are they overextended, almost one step away of burned out? How can they go more in the optimal engagement zone? So is a very effective assessment that I work with organizations with that allow us to see where people fall in these zones: burned out, overextended, disengaged, and the optimal engaged. And what are the root causes that are creating those dynamics, the cost of not doing anything, and what are the main things that you can do to feel a difference.
Okay, that leads perfectly into my final question, and I think it's going to be very closely related. I believe your answer is probably going to be closely related. So in our quest, in our corporate quest, right? Your quest, my quest, everybody that's here with us today, and then those who are going to be hearing this going forward, we are all in a space, in a career where we are all about impact, and hopefully sustainable impact, meaning we are monetizing that work that we're doing to get our solutions, our ideas, and our IP out there globally, hopefully.
Yes.
We always end the show with a pact to impact. So what is a challenge, a pact that you want to make with my audience?
The pact is, let's work together. Is we, like you're saying, let's work together, do our individual work that we have to do, but work together to build a culture of work sustainability. We speak a lot about environment sustainability, and it's super important. Absolutely. And we also should be speaking, in my opinion, about what is work sustainability that allow us to create a better world in a way that we also can enjoy our life and our work.
Oh, okay. Perfect way to close. Work sustainability. So we're all about sustainability in the world. We're all about, sustainability in our finances, whatever it might be. But what about our energy? What about the longevity of this good work that we're putting out there, this good impact that we're putting out there? Taking care of that is just as vital as nourishing your body, right? You need to nourish that energy as well. Before we go, you hadn't yet mentioned your book, and I think that might be a place where our listeners would like to at least start. Where can they find your book? What's it about?
So I have books with chapters on it, but I'm working still is not out yet, but should be soon out. It's going to be around the name Mindset Zone, like the podcast. And again, the best place is to go to annamelikian.com. At the moment of this recording, if you sign up to my newsletter, you get one of the chapters of the book, so you can have a preview of what is coming.
Nice. I'm signing up. Okay. So I'll definitely be linking all of those links in the show notes because you have a very beautiful, unusual name. So everybody can get it right and take advantage of that assessment. That's a large gift. Thank you for giving my listeners that gift. That is precious to be able to spend some time with you and have you look directly into my world. Yes. And give me some warning signs if they're there, because I'm too close to it, right? To see. Each one of us are in that place. So thank you for sharing your precious time with us today. And I hope you'll let me invite you back sometime.
Yes, absolutely. It will be my pleasure.
Okay, great. Ciao for now.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the SPEAKPact podcast. To become a recommended speaker of Antoniette's WPC speaker agency, or you are a host or planner looking for a dynamic expert in optimized performance, Antoniette would like to personally meet with you. Secure a time with her at speakerbooker.com. Again, that is speakerbooker.com. It all begins with a vision, a voice, and a pact to impact. Join the SpeakPact movement by joining our new private Facebook group at the link in our show notes. Find us on nearly every social media platform at One Antoniette. That's number 1, ANTONIETTE, or simply #SpeakPact.